Okay, so I was waiting on YouTube to receive the feed. It took a little jostling there. If there's anybody out there, I'd appreciate any kind of feedback you could provide to me on the quality. Sorry, I was getting feedback from my stream. Yeah, if there's anybody out there listening, if you could just pop here any notes in the feed to let me know how this sounds. I know that in my previous settings, I had a different setup. I was running using the same sort of mics that I use in my production where I'm not doing it live. So I've got, this is a handheld professional Sony microphone going through a wireless connection into my audio card. And I went to that because the microphone on the Logitech camera didn't sound good at all. And I've gotten a lot of reports from people who could barely hear me on the Sony mic. So this is the new settings on the Logitech mic. I want to make sure that you can hear me loud and clear, and I'm not fading, and it sounds just fine. I see Richard here. You're saying it sounds good just now. I appreciate you chiming in on that. If I had another person on here through Skype, we could be able to do a solid comparison. But I want to make sure that you're not having to futz with your volume controls, and it sounds okay without having to ride the slider. Now I'm going to try something here. In the pause, if you can listen for any kind of background noise, because I've got a computer system that's sitting right to my right here, and it is a workstation. It's incredibly old. It's about 11 years old. It's got a ton of cooling fans on it, and it tends to roar and get really loud. So if you let me know when I go to a pause, or even as I'm speaking now, if that's overriding the quality of my voice. Hey, Jerome, good to see you online here. Appreciate your feedback. Bruce, you say you can hear everything just fine. Sounds wonderful. That sounds great. Were any of you guys on 2 days ago when I had Tony on? Were you compared to that? If you can tell me how my voice sounds now compared to the way it sounded before with Tony. Jeff William, thank you. I see A-OK. No extraneous noise. With this darn thing, I literally had to have it right here for me to get a good strong signal ported into my sound card, and it's highly directional on the top. Couldn't go side to side. I wound up losing voice quality. So what I'm going to do from now on is I'm going to go ahead and use this Logitech. The fans have started cranking up just now. Can you hear that now? Ken W, I see you can say it sounds good. Okay, so I'll let you know that coming up in about 2 weeks, I've got another live stream coming. I've got to nail down the date and time, but it looks like it will probably be with Diet. Jerome, you can say you can hear it. When you say it, are you talking about the cooling fans? You turned your volume all the way up too. Is that so that you can hear the cooling fans? Bruce Wayne, I see you say you think I sound good. Jerome, waiting to hear back from you. You cannot hear. Okay, that's good. All right. So hopefully we'll have a better quality sounding stream on the next time I go. I've had some other suggestions from people on what I could do to improve insofar as talking slowly. I know that I tend to rattle pretty quickly, and reflecting on Tony's presentation the other day, I started off really fast, and then he was going really fast, and I think we were just kind of playing off each other. And I know I do need to slow down and enunciate, and that's something that I shall be working on as well. It's a problem I've always had with speaking, especially here doing something live. Okay, neither of you guys. Richard, you say you can't hear the cooling fans. Thank you very much. All right, so I think that pretty much resolves the sound problem. I'll go ahead and go forward with these settings. While you've got me on now, do any of you guys have any questions? As a thank you to you guys, have any questions of me? Any suggestions? Jerome, it's my pleasure to do these videos. It's just as much of a pleasure for me as it is for the rest of you guys. Thank you very much. You know, if any of you guys come across any people out there who have an extraordinary tale to share, send them my way. I'd be happy to sit down and have a nice chat with them and share with the world. Let's see. Talk about the manifestation process. Jerome, when you talk about the manifestation process, are you talking like The Secret manifestation, the book The Secret? And I'm not getting anything back. Maybe you're typing just now. Anyway, anyhow, if you were talking about The Secret, that's not necessarily my department. I know that other people have written about, you know, Brooks Agnew has written about that. Let me grab his book. Hang on. He goes into that in some detail. Where is Brooks' book? Here we go, right here. I got a stack of them. Okay, all right. Let me put my ears back on. So let's see here. This one, all right. So for you, Jerome, you asked about it. This really isn't my department, but I read Brooks's book on that. He kind of touts this book as the step after the book The Secret. And this one's entitled Remembering the Future, the Physics of the Soul, and Time Travel by Brooks Agnew. A top 5 Amazon bestseller with 1 week of publication, he writes here. Millions of people read The Secret. They went out and bought magazines and scissors and magnets and covered the refrigerator doors with their dreams. Then an amazing thing happened. Nothing. So he takes it to the next step. It doesn't look like I'm showing the whole title very well there, but this is the book. Mysterious Oklahoma, welcome to the impromptu chit chat here. Sounds good on my end. Glad you're doing live streams. We need the quality you provide. Thank you. I appreciate the compliments. And while I'm here, look, I'm not perfect at any of this stuff. I've always kind of been aberrant to doing live stream because it's always a challenge. There's always something wonky going on about it. With pre-production, I can get in there and edit and make everything look and sound absolutely perfect where I have the person sitting right there in front of me. But with this whole COVID thing, I've got to stream. I've got to pull people in through the NDI connection through Skype. And if you've used Skype before, you know that this audio tends to drop out, and that's what we're experiencing. So we do the best we can with what we've got, and I'll just have to apologize in advance for any kind of minor dropouts. So anyway, I really appreciate all you guys tuning in. Says here, good stream. I don't have a story. It's a good place for people. Hey, look, can you try Zoom? The thing with Zoom, Jerome, I did, but they don't have a means of porting an NDI signal into OBS, which is what I need to make all of this work to get the picture and the sound. Maybe there's something that's eluded me there, and it's I'm flying by the seat of my pants here, doing the best I can with what I've got and going with what works until I figure out Zoom. But based on my quick dive into it, I didn't see anything that would allow Zoom to work hand in hand with the OBS software. So again, as I was saying, if any of you guys have any suggestions on how I can get better on this end, or any suggestions for topics, or anybody who's got a story to tell, feel free to send them my way. You know what? If you guys ever want to write to me, my email is walter@clandestinedisclosure.com. I always welcome emails, and I always respond to everybody who writes to me. So if you've got any comments or questions or anything you'd like to share with me, just write to me. And during the course of the live streams, I go through, it's like mental gymnastics for anybody. If you've ever done this before, your focus is on your guest, trying to listen to what they're saying while at the same time monitoring all the feed that's coming from you and picking out any questions that I might have for the guest. At the same time, I'm trying to listen to what the guest is saying so I can be more of an interactive, engaging host. It's really quite a different experience than what I'm accustomed to, sitting there in front of a guest with a clipboard of questions. So anyhow, thank you, Ken W. No fan noise. Keith L. I just tuned in. The audio was perfect. Thank you. I think you may have mentioned something in the last in our last stream with Tony. Anyhow, as I was saying, I've got another stream coming up that I'm working on scheduling with Diet Carver, who is a psychic. So I look forward to doing that. You know who else I'd like to get? I'd like to get on here a regression therapist. I have one in mind. I think she's well known, but her name always escapes me. I've got to dig out her card or her name. But Yvonne Smith, I think that's her name, Yvonne Smith. If Yvonne's watching this, I'd be interested in doing some kind of interview, if not on a live stream, perhaps a standard production where I have you sit down in front of my cameras and we can get something that's high quality. So anyhow, I think we've pretty well resolved the audio issue. If any of you guys have any parting shots or questions, I'll go ahead and shut this down. Ken W., what topic do you prefer to ask or talk about? You know, it's, if you can imagine anybody like an experiencer. An experience has a story to tell, and they typically have a story to tell that is absolutely unprovable except for their own testimony. So I like those sorts of things, and anything that touches on extraterrestrials, anything to touch on psychic ability, mysteries, you know, people who have mysterious tales to share, those sorts of things. Anything where you may call into question the truth, the veracity, or the reality of somebody's tale, or other sorts of things. I had, to give you an example, I had interviewed a United States Navy commander who was actually driving the ship, the USS Maddox, at the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Now, there's a highly controversial incident and story where over the decades people have developed their own opinions about, and even today they call BS on a lot of things that happen, and they say it's a red flag event. Well, here I have in history a person with first-hand experience who was on the deck of the bridge of the Maddox, who saw the paint on the Chinese torpedoes in the water, giving his tale and his testimony. So it's that sort of thing. You know, if there's something controversial, I talked to a guy who claimed to be from Hollow Earth. Everybody knows that one. Billy Woodard. There's people I've talked to who have been involved in time travel and, the Project Pegasus guys, Andy Bishago and Brett Stillings and those sorts of things. So anything to do with advanced technology I'm interested in. As you know from my website, Clandestine Disclosure, I covered Ralph Ring and the OTC-X1. His story is about boarding this 40-foot craft that was built in Apple Valley, California back in 1960, and he piloted this thing or operated this thing with two other men 10 miles downrange and back at the speed of thought. So, anything that challenges our understanding of reality and truth would be great. Let's see here. Jerome's, try saving questions to the end of the videos. Other people do that. It seems to work for them. Yeah, I agree. I got to tell you, with Tony, I was not as prepared as I should have been, if I'm being completely honest. Tony carried the show very well for my ill preparedness, and it's scanning through. What I also like to do is have more of an interactive experience, and I guess that can be interpreted as somewhat disruptive if I keep cutting away and maybe interrupting the guest with what he's saying by infusing these questions. So great tip, Jerome. We'll give that a go. You know what we're going to do? Actually, with Diet, we're going to do that. I'm going to have to peel my eyes off of the comments and be focused on Diet and what she has to say. In fact, we we talked about this, and we think that's probably the best way to go. At the end, we'll open it up to questions. Um, let's see. What about David WK? That's interesting. Who's David WK? Oh, Wilcock. Okay, David Wilcock. Um, David Wilcock, Corey Good, and that whole group of people. Um, they are probably the most challenging people to get a hold of, and I think to put in front of a camera. I think they're probably very highly selective about who they choose to interview with because they have the capability of putting their own material out. So if I ever had like a Corey Good on, that would be awesome. I'd love to hear his firsthand take. And who's the other guy? Emery Smith. You know, those guys. Who's the other two? Randy Kramer and his Mars story. Now, I think all those guys are kind of tied together at the hip almost. But I'm not saying I wouldn't host them if they were open and would like to be on. I'd love to have them. Let's see. Yes, Ken W. I have heard of channeling Eric. Fascinating stuff. What's this say? You're asking who has passed over. Oh yes, he's crossed over indeed. Yeah, Eric Medhus and his mother. And his mother was came into a psychic channeler who was channeling her son, and the way that I think that's fascinating how that whole story has evolved, where his mom, who was a medical doctor, you know, met a psychic. I forget what the circumstances were, but she had to be almost convinced about all the psychic stuff. And now she does a weekly show with psychics all the time, and her son seems to be right at the middle of this. I find it interesting that you have so many psychics who are able to channel the same guy. And I don't know how you guys feel about psychics. I've talked to a few of them, and I've had, so from my perspective, it feels like a lot of them, or all of them, will have, when they receive their information from an individual or a message from out there, or from past loved ones, it has to pass through their personal life sets of experiences, what you might call a life filter. So based on my brushes with psychic abilities, I have a family who have abilities, and mine are hit and miss. I learned remote viewing, and my ability to remote view is hit and miss. But I know enough I've had enough experiences to know that visions come through, and it requires interpretations of those visions and what they mean. And I know, at least for me, that when I see something, I'll get like something that's crystal clear. It comes with an absolute knowing of the message. But there's other times where, you know, visions will come in, but you're not really clear on it. So it's at those times where you've got to kind of lean on your life experiences to flesh out what the message might be. So because of that, I look at psychics from a different perspective. You know, it's like, oh, okay, so are they leveraging their knowledge from their life? Can you imagine trying to channel, let's say, Einstein or some other inventor of the past, and he's trying to communicate to you through pictures only, and you're not even an engineer, right? So how do you sort out what they're trying to tell you if they're trying to help you learn more about technology? You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so I find all that stuff very fascinating. Oh yes, Michael K Jacko. He is, yeah, that guy would be really fascinating. He seems to be relatively easy to get a hold of. I'd definitely like to get a hold of that guy and have him come on board. He'd be fun to talk to. Let's see. Yeah, he was in the CIA and SEAL Team 6, exactly. Yeah, I've been following his stuff as well. He seems to be interesting cat. I find some comparisons between what he said and some of the stuff that Tony has shared. I don't know how you feel about that. Yeah, hello, Houston. Yeah, welcome to the impromptu stream. You're welcome. Yeah, it's my pleasure really to do all of this for you guys. And really what we're doing here, just looking for suggestions, making sure that the sound is okay for my next live stream. Tried all kinds of funky stuff that isn't working. So it sounds like this is working just now, and we're just kind of jibber jabbering just now. If you have any suggestions, chime in. I was trying to shut this down 5 minutes ago, but I find new things to talk about. All right, guys, this is just going to be a few minute things. If I don't see anything pop in here in the next 15 seconds, I'll assume we're done, and we'll call this golden for our next one. Okay, Yadira, what do I think about Jacoba Greenberg? Who's Jacoba Greenberg? I don't know anything about that person. Why don't you tell me who they are? Yeah, okay, Jerome, we'll catch you later, buddy. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, Derek, can you tell us who Jacobo Greenberg is, please? I have to jot this down. Okay, so I'm going to assume you're typing. I'll give you another 10 seconds before I'm ready to fly here. So as I was saying, if you want to write to me stuff like this about Jacobo and whatnot, you can reach me at walter@clandestinedisclosure.com, and it's all one word, clandestinedisclosure.com, and I'll be happy to receive any emails and respond to you as well. And with that, I'll bid you all a fine adieu. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you next time.